More on the breaking news we've been covering for you here on Morning in America. The passing of General Colin Powell at the age of 84. Joining us now by phone, retired Lieutenant General Richard Newton. He spent 34 years in the military, served as the Assistant Vice Chief Staff in the Air Force. Thank you so much for being with us. Obviously, this news is a big shock. What did you think when you first heard?
Yeah, good morning. I just came out of a business breakfast just a few minutes or so ago and was made aware that General Powell had passed away. Just a great American, someone who had tremendous impact, not only on our men and women in uniform and their families, but also across America. And I believe that he served, again, exceptionally as a soldier, as a statesman, as one who served his country well, and frankly, will become a role model not only for my generation, but for future generations as well. My hope and my prayer is that his legacy will live on. I just think he's one of the greatest Americans we've had, at least in my generation.
What do you think was the singular component to his success, something that other soldiers could learn from?
Well, first of all, I think he had really a heart and a mind about serving. It wasn't about Colin Powell. He was one of our first volunteers to go to Vietnam back in 1962-63. Then he had a second tour in 1968. In fact, that was when my dad served over there. You know, he received the Bronze Star. He received the Soldier's Medal for heroism. He received a Purple Heart. It was all about service. And then he took that experience as an American soldier on the battlefield, to a greater enterprise, serving as the National Security Advisor, and then later on as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff during a very critical time in our nation's history during Desert Storm, if you recall back in 1990-91 when Saddam Hussein rolled into Kuwait and so forth. He led the effort, much like George C. Marshall did back in Washington, D.C. during World War II. He led that effort from the military advice to the president during that very critical time for Bush 41, and ultimately led to the success, the lightning success of that combat period of time in American history.
Do you agree with so many who've said that he was able to really cross the lines and make sure that both Republicans and Democrats were on board based on policy and made decisions that the country needed at the time?
Absolutely. I think that transcended even to his tenure when he was under Bush 43 as Secretary of State. Absolutely. I think he represents what is good about America, but also what is good about the American politics scene. You had a U.S. representative. She was, talks about reaching across the aisle in our previous spot just a few minutes or so ago. I totally agree with that. He was able to reach across the aisle from not only a domestic political standpoint, but from a national security standpoint as well, which is, I think we're missing that now in this generation. My last point on that is, when he wrote his autobiography, his book, it was called My American Journey. And I would recommend that to anyone who has any thoughts at all about leadership, or even in both the business, but also in the military or national security. But that book and that title, My American Journey, really, I think, underscores the point of your question. He was able to touch the hearts of Americans, regardless of their political beliefs, maybe of their other beliefs that they had that might not necessarily agreed with General Powell per se, but was a unifier. He was a leader. He had impact on the lives of not only his soldiers, but Americans in every walk of life across the land. That's missing. And I think we're going to miss that in the passing of General Powell. But nonetheless, I think we need to take stock in that and use that as the example of who we should be, asking to lead this nation for future generations.
Yes, who should we be as Americans? Thank you, retired Lieutenant General Richard Newton. Thank